All the fear without the constant heart attacks. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 horror video games that don't rely on jump scares. For this list, we'll be looking at the best horror games that are not overly reliant on leaping out at the player in order to scare the poop face emoji out of them. It doesn't mean jump scares are completely absent from these titles, but they're few and far between. I'm Todd Haberkorn, and as a gamer, I just don't have the scary video game DNA. It's a painful experience for me, yet I still buy the games. What's wrong with me? Don't answer that, you mean bastards, in the comments section. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Go play your video games. Now, it's time for your favorite.
Let's get ready to Mojo!
You're alive! Maria, I thought that thing killed you.
Number 10, Fatal Frame.
I felt as though something was calling me here.
A classic horror franchise from Tecmo. In terms of scares, Fatal Frame peaked with its first two entries. The original following Miku, a young woman who can see spirits and heads into a decrepit mansion in search of her brother. Along with some stellar sound design, Fatal Frame creates a tense atmosphere thanks to the use of the camera obscura, an item that allows supernatural entities to be seen and harmed, meaning Miku has to actively seek out the mansion's many terrors. The dark and gloomy visuals further enhance that sense of fear from knowing that something is definitely out there. You're just not quite able to see it. Number 9, The Forest. Starting as a relatively typical survival game where the primary goal is to manage resources, The Forest quickly reveals itself to be a mysterious and often terrifying experience. After surviving a plane crash, Eric lands on a seemingly deserted island and sets out to find his kidnapped son, not knowing that the wildlife is far from the biggest threat. The Forest excels at being unpredictable, as the island's cannibalistic inhabitants react organically depending on the situation. While the unknown is always unsettling, the fear factor skyrockets whenever the sun goes down, as The Forest becomes a symphony of blood-curdling screeches and howls. Number 8, Darkwood. Complex and intricate plots are all well and good, but sometimes horror benefits from simplicity. While there isn't a complete lack of narrative drive, Darkwood is primarily about surviving the night in a society that has gone insane. The gameplay loop is straightforward. Explore the forest-covered terrain during the day and barricade yourself at night. Regardless of whether the sun is up or down, death could be just around the corner. Even though there are NPCs, most have already taken leave of their senses, making Darkwood's world feel truly desolate and hostile. Number 7, Blair Witch. A sequel to 1999's influential found footage horror film, Blair Witch finds a war vet and his trusty pooch Bullet heading to Black Hills Forest to aid in the search of a lost child. While not exactly short of jump scares, and these moments ultimately grow tiresome, the same cannot be said about the tense atmosphere created by the eerie and engrossing surroundings. Like the original movie, Blair Witch leans heavily on its soundtrack and audio effects to cultivate a sense of impending doom, along with the always present dread that something tragic may ultimately befall Bullet. Don't you touch that dog!
Whoa! Oh my god.
Number 6, Alien Isolation.
Right!
Okay, technically, most game overs in this masterfully nightmarish title are directly preceded by a jump scare, but that's only a small slice of the horror pie. More than anything, Isolation does a brilliant job of establishing the iconic alien as an unstoppable beast that is always the hunter and you always the prey. If the Xenomorph is near, players must hide and hope that the alien's radar is on the fritz. Despite having access to all sorts of weapons, Amanda Ripley is nearly always at the mercy of the alien, making every stealth section inherently nail-biting. Don't bite your nails. Number 5, PT. How could a single hallway be this horrifying? Along with being a fantastic teaser for a Silent Hill project that never materialized, PT serves as a perfect example that sometimes less is more. Taking place in just a small handful of rooms, PT traps players in a seemingly never-ending cycle of salvation. There is one utterly pants-wetting jump scare, but otherwise, PT is a horror game that relies on crafting a claustrophobic atmosphere that, once entered, is just as inescapable for the player as it is for Norman Reedus. Number 4, Amnesia, The Dark Descent. Taking a minimalist approach to both the gameplay and story, at least in the opening hours, Amnesia is arguably one of the most important horror games of the 2010s. Presented in first person, this hailed indie is all about fear's ability to break someone's grip on reality. In this case, that person happens to be an amnesiac who wakes up in a strange castle filled with monsters. While not entirely devoid of jump scares, most of the game is spent searching the castle's dim chambers for light and cowering from the many terrifying beings that patrol these halls, especially that damn invisible water monster. Number 3, Silent Hill 2. Building on the original Silent Hill's impeccable foundations, this sequel set a new standard when it comes to psychological survival horror. The story revolves around James Sunderland, who is summoned to the town of Silent Hill after receiving a letter from his definitely deceased wife. From the twisted nurse to the iconic pyramid head, grotesque creatures roam the town's foggy and desolate streets. And that's to say nothing of the equally unnerving human characters. While the minute-to-minute gameplay is unquestionably intense, Silent Hill 2's true horror lays in the narrative's exploration of the protagonist's fractured and guilt-stricken mind.
I'm here for you, James. See? I'm real.
Number 2, System Shock 2.
You're on board the Starship Von Braun and something's gone very, very wrong. Some kind of force has hijacked this ship. That's why you volunteered to be implanted with some experimental cybernetic implants.
Part RPG, part FPS, and all horror. System Shock 2 was a landmark release in gaming that remains as effective today as its day of release. Taking place on 2 spaceships that are infected by parasitic worms who can take control of humans, the gloomy sci-fi setting is punctuated with deadly and frightening mutations that are accompanied by chilling voice work and sound design. Uncertainty is a crucial ingredient of horror, and System Shock 2's sparse storytelling and non-restrictive gameplay forces the player to push forward with Shodan, one of the evilest gaming characters ever, as a guide.
That it is my will that guided you here. It is my will that gave you your cybernetic implants.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1, Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. Where horror is concerned, Nintendo is typically the last company on anyone's mind, yet a GameCube exclusive produced near perfection in the genre. Eternal Darkness is a time-traveling adventure game with 12 playable characters, a deep weapon and magic system, and a central mystery that blurs the line between reality and insanity. Layered in subtly and patiently disturbing, The game sustains a dreary ambiance throughout its long and complex campaign. Rather than jump scares, the terror arrives through the application of a sanity meter that, once low enough, sends the character spiraling towards the mouth of madness.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.